The moment she said it out loud, "She will never sit at our table," I felt something crack inside me, not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet snap, like the last thread holding you together, finally giving up. Funny thing is, that wasn't even the worst part of that night. The worst part was how sure she sounded, how comfortable she was saying it, like the universe had already signed off on the idea that people like me knew our place. And for a long time in my life, I almost believed that, too. Let me take you back a few hours earlier, before the wine, before the whispers, before everything flipped upside down. The evening air in Savannah carried that warm, sweet smell that only old southern cities seem to have. Spanish moss hanging from trees, soft lights lining a driveway that curved toward a mansion so big it didn't even try to feel welcoming. The Caraway Estate. I'd only seen places like that in movies. That night it was hosting a private charity gala. Legacy families, donors, board members, people whose last names opened doors without them ever having to knock. I arrived by bus. Not Uber, not a black car. A bus that hissed when it stopped. I stepped off clutching a purse that wasn't really mine, wearing a dress borrowed from a woman at the transitional housing center where I'd been living since my mom passed. I'd cleaned my shoes so many times they almost looked new, almost. My mom had died 7 months earlier from complications that could have been treated if we'd had better insurance or any insurance at all. After that, life became a series of long shifts, short nights, and pretending I wasn't scared about the future. But I'd earned an invitation, an essay contest, a scholarship initiative tied to this gala. I wrote about resilience, about watching my mother work herself sick and still believe education was the one thing no one could take from you. When I found out I'd won, I cried in a public library bathroom. Yeah, that happened. So, walking up to that estate heart pounding, I kept telling myself, "You belong here at least tonight." Security checked the list twice when he saw me. That look, you know, the one like they're deciding whether you're lost or bold enough to try something. My name was there. He waved me through anyway, not apologetic, just surprised. I walked the long driveway alone, luxury cars gliding past like I was part of the landscaping. Inside was another world. Crystal chandeliers, polished marble string lights reflecting off champagne glasses. People laughed easily, the kind of laugh that comes from never worrying about overdraft fees. I found the table marked for scholarship guests near the back, half hidden by a column, and sat down quietly. I watched. That's something you learn when you grow up without much. How to observe without being seen. That's when she walked in. Lila Beaumont. Perfect posture, perfect smile, confidence wrapped in silk. Her dress probably cost more than my yearly rent back when I still had an apartment. Diamonds caught the light every time she moved. People leaned toward her without realizing it. Beside her was her grandmother, Evelyn Beaumont, a name that carried weight in that room. Banking real estate foundations. If Savannah's black elite had a throne, she was sitting on it. I remember thinking how far away they felt, not just financially, but existentially, like we lived on different planets. I stood up to get water nerves buzzing, and that's when I made the mistake. I stepped back without looking and bumped into a waiter. He steadied the tray, but a splash of water hit the floor, near Lila's shoes. The room didn't go silent, not fully, but it softened. Lila gasped like something precious had been violated. She turned slowly, eyes landing on me with a surgical precision. "Are you kidding me?" she said loud enough to draw attention. I apologized immediately, words tumbling over each other. She looked me up and down, taking inventory. Borrowed dress, no jewelry, wrong energy. "These shoes cost more than your monthly expenses," she said. "Who even are you?" My face burned. I told her my name, told her I was there for the scholarship program. Her smile was sharp. "Oh, one of those." Charity case without saying the words. Her grandmother stepped in, voice smooth and calm. "Sweetheart, the scholarship guests are seated near the back." She pointed, not unkindly, which somehow made it worse. I moved, cheeks burning. As I walked away, I heard Lila say it, clear as day. "She will never sit at our table." That sentence followed me like a shadow. At the small table near the service doors, a waiter quietly set down water and whispered, "Don't let them get to you." I nodded, fighting tears. Across the room, Lila laughed with her friends, glancing my way like I was part of the evening's entertainment. What I didn't notice was the older man sitting alone near the tall windows, watching everything. He didn't interrupt. He didn't react. He just watched. Later, the host announced the scholarship recipient. My name echoed through the ballroom. Polite applause followed, cautious, like people weren't sure whether clapping was appropriate after what they'd witnessed. I walked to the stage on legs that barely felt like mine. Lila muttered something about sob stories, and her friends giggled. I spoke anyway. I talked about my mom, about dignity, about working 3 jobs and still believing in something better. My voice cracked. Some people listened. Some checked their phones. Lila slow-clapped mocking, and her grandmother looked mildly inconvenienced. I thought that was the worst of it. I was wrong. During dinner, Lila came to my table, wine glass in hand, smile razor thin. She asked about my mom, guessed she cleaned houses. When I corrected her, she waved it off. Still begging for opportunities built by people who actually contributed, she said. Her friends formed a loose circle. Someone tried to intervene. Lila smiled sweetly. I'm just curious. Her grandmother joined us, forced gratitude out of me like a performance. People like us create chances for people like you, she said softly. Then Lila placed her wine glass in front of me. Make a toast, she said. Show some appreciation. The room quieted. No one stopped her. I stood because I didn't know what else to do. She handed me the glass. I started to speak. She cut me off. Louder. Some of us paid a lot to be here. I tried again. She took the glass back. You don't belong here, she said, close enough for me to smell her perfume. Everyone can see it. Then she lifted the glass and poured the wine over my head. Cold. Sticky. Red soaking into the dress I couldn't afford to replace. Gasps filled the room. She smiled. This is what happens when trash forgets its place. I turned to leave. Security moved toward me. That's when the old man stood. His chair scraped the floor. The sound cut through everything. He walked slowly, deliberately stopping in the center of the room. Lila scoffed until she saw his face. Her grandmother went pale. You're dead, she whispered. He spoke calmly, introduced himself, revealed decades of lies, stolen assets, forged documents. He spoke of a daughter, a nurse, compassionate beyond measure. He showed a photo. My knees nearly buckled. It was my mother. Everything unraveled after that. Lawyers appeared. Documents spread across tables. DNA confirmed what no one expected. The estate, the funds, the legacy, all mine. Lila stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. The woman who poured wine on my head had just humiliated the actual owner of everything she worshipped. Security escorted them out. Silence followed. The old man approached me gently. You don't have to decide anything tonight, he said. I asked if it was real. He nodded. 6 months later, I stood outside a new building bearing my mother's name. A foundation focused on healthcare access, housing, education. I kept my name. I kept my values. I didn't keep the dress, but I kept the lesson. So here's my question for you. When someone tells you that you don't belong, are they protecting the truth or protecting their power? And if you were in that room watching it all unfold, would you have spoken up or stayed silent? Let me know what you think in the comments, because stories like this don't end when the video does. They live in the conversations we're brave enough to have.